This podcast episode is going to be like a 100-miler with the aid station nap right in the middle. You get the gritty run, and then you get the polished finish.
Welcome to the Run True Diaries podcast, celebrating runners of all backgrounds and abilities. This is where running unites, inspires, and motivates. Lace up to get your race up. Let's get
Hey,
moving.
what's up, everybody out there running on native land? And welcome back to the Run True Diaries podcast. I'm your host, Luis, a.k.a. Chico, and this is Season 3, Episode 6, making it broadcast number 25. Thank you for spending some of your precious time listening to the show. I appreciate it. I'm definitely not going to waste it. Lace up, race up, and let's get moving, because we're at the starting line with this episode's guests. And from brutal ultras to epic MTBs, he's just built different. His mindset is forged in recovery, fueled by resilience, and fired up for growth. He trains for life and he runs for joy. And he shows us what it truly means to endure everything. So whether he's conquering the crazies in God's country or grinding it out at the Maah Daah Hey in the Badlands, he's never chasing the finish line, but he's always chasing the meaning. So whether you're kicking up dust or hammering through the rust, give a mountain-sized welcome to the Montana Maverick, Dylan Malloy.
What's up, Chico?
What's going on, buddy?
Not much. Just excited to be here with you.
And me too. Hey, so how is the weather in Montana today?
Today is pretty good. It was like 60s, 70s yesterday. It's a little cooler today and a little windy, but we just got through some more snow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
Not a lot of snow sticking around, but it's spring weather, so it snows a couple inches and then it's melted the next day. But,
Of course.
Pretty nice. A little overcast.
Yeah. All right, Dylan. We know that the starting lines are always crowded, so let's break free from the pack and blaze this single track with the Fast Five. And these are 5 rapid-fire questions that'll give us some quick insight about you. Question number 1. When it comes to running, do you prefer roads or trails?
I lean heavily towards the trails. Those are my preference, but as long as you're outside, that's the
Heck yes. Question number 2. Do you prefer challenge coins, medals, buckles, or the journey's experience?
I think I like the journey. It's a little bit of mix for me. The journey is the key point, but getting something shiny at the end is always fun. That's always a little taking home a treat.
Question number 3. Besides athletics, what is your favorite pastime?
Probably just spending time with my friends and family, hanging out,
Yeah.
being around people.
Right. You get to let your shoulders down and relax after a hard week's work, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just nice to, you spend a lot of time doing stuff and then not having any obligations when you're able to just talk and
Yeah.
reflow with all your friends and family.
Question number 4. What is some advice that you would give to young Dylan?
It would be patience and trusting the process. And that's, I have to give myself that advice again. I have to remind myself of that. So I'd not only give it to young Dylan, but probably future Dylan as well.
And question number 5. What is something positive happening in your life right now?
Well, this is positive. This is cool. So this is my first podcast. I enjoyed super stoked you invited me to be here. And I think springtime. It's, winter in Montana can be long and cold and dark, and seeing the sun and hearing the birds come out, it's refreshing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And boom, just like that, Dylan's Fast 5 is in the books, just like his 3 Crazy Mountain 100 finishes, which is built for the bold, finished by the few, and returned to by the relentless. And that's not a fun fact.
That's a run fact.
All right, Dylan, before we chew up the dirt, crush some climbs, let's let the miles get wild. Let's shift down, catch our breath, and let's set the tone. Give us the route rundown on who the Montana Maverick is, where you're from, what lit that fire, and what forged the ultra runner, coach, and all-terrain powerhouse that we're talking to today.
So I was born and raised in Butte, America, small town, Montana, and grew up there, played a bunch of different sports and athletics. Went to college in Billings, Montana, and played soccer there for the college for 4 years. And after that, I had a good foundation of athleticism and a good support system here in Billings, and slowly started getting into the run side of things. Dipped my toes into the triathlon world. Really liked that. When I was starting to get in that, I had a knee injury from soccer.
Yeah.
And that inspired me for my rehab, to shoot for an Ironman. So that's when I kind of got into the endurance world. I did a couple Ironman races.
And then I had a buddy do Run Rabbit Run down in Colorado, and I helped pace him. And man, there might have been a seed of 100-mile planted in there already, but that lit up. So I started getting into the endurance trail world. And then along those lines, throughout college, I graduated, so I'm a registered nurse, and I've worked in the hospital setting almost 15 years now, and all kind of the acute inpatient setting, and currently working in an ICU here in Billings, Montana.
So first off, you said that you played soccer at the college level, and that was at MSUB?
Yep, MSU Billings, yep.
So you're a Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket, yeah.
Okay.
And then, well, it's funny because I played soccer there, but my nursing degree is through Bozeman. So I'm a Yellow Jacket
and a Bobcat. Funny connection. My second year of college was at MSUB, and actually Billings is where I joined the military. But I used to run up to the top of the trail up there on the rims and back down. It was probably only like 1.5 miles to 2 miles, just because the dorms are right there. Then after that, I would go down to the cafeteria, then spend all mom's money on chicken strips. Thought I was fit. So yeah, I'm partially a Yellow Jacket as well.
It's funny you say that because I live right next to the campus still, and Billings doesn't have a lot of elevation, so when I don't have the time to drive to the mountains, I do airport repeats. That's where I just go up and down that.
Yeah.
So according to my research, while playing soccer at MSUB, you were a goalkeeper?
Yes, yep. I was lucky enough to be third string goalie for 3 years on the team.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question about that.
Yeah.
What is it like being the last line of defense where one split decision can change the full outcome of the game?
There's a lot of pressure. There can be.
Yeah.
We feel you have a lot of weight on your shoulders, and that last line of defense, there's a lot of weight based on those last second decisions. If you miss a pass in the midfield, it's not a big deal. If you let a ball go behind you as a goalie and it's a goal, you can lose the game. So there's the weight of the decisions you make have a little more oomph behind them. If you have a good team, and I had a good group of guys I played with in high school and some good coaches. It is the last line of defense, but it also has to go through 10 other guys before it gets to you. Notice, knowing you're a team. I'm short, Chico. I'm barely over 5'7", so to play college goalie, I'm a little out of the league in that realm, but I was fast and spry and a little crazy, so that kind of helps out.
Okay, I hear you. Hey, but we're talking about how this can have major consequences, but there will be no time to dwell on that. Because as a keeper, you've got to stay sharp for the next shot. That kind of mental agility is key. So let's put your mental agility back to the test. And we just mentioned Butte, America. Why is it known as Butte, America? Oh, and no pressure, you're on the clock.
So Butte used to be a big, booming mining town, and it was like one of the largest cities west of the Mississippi for a long time. It was copper and electricity, and the World Wars. There's a huge demand for copper, so huge migrant destination for work and labor, and so people from all over the world. There was a little Chinatown. There's Irish and Polish and Swede. Like there's everybody came to work for the mining youth. And for people that couldn't spend the language, they would send money back home in notes and they'd say, come to Butte, America. So if somebody was coming across the sea, they would have Butte, America written on their arm, so they could get on the boat, show the people where they're going, and knew where to go.
Hey, check this out. You got it. You saved the game. I had a whole description here ready to go just in case I had to jump in and give my research answer here. But yeah, calling it Butte, America became one of the ways of saying that this place isn't just Montana, it's its own little world. Tough, proud, and built on hard work. Do you feel like growing up there shaped the way you handle adversity, whether it be on the field, on the trail, or in life?
Yes, definitely. Butte's a very tight-knit, kind of blue-collar town with the mines and stuff like that. And there is both sides of the spectrum where there is a lot of expectations to do your thing and carry your part, and no one's going to take your bullshit, and you got to do what you got to do. But there's also a ton of support. And it does both very well. So you kind of grow up, at times when you need support, there's people there, and then sometimes they tell you to pull up your bootstraps and toughen up.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of pull.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, let me ask you this last goalkeeping question, because it seems like it's all about explosiveness and quick reactions, whereas ultras are the opposite. There's a slow burn and a long haul. How did you make that mental shift from the team sports and high alert moments to solo efforts that stretch over hours or even days?
Yeah. Time and patience. It took, you always start off when you start running, you're always running way too hard, and you're like, running's hard and sucks, and you got to learn to slow down and learning and experience. But it's definitely, I think some of it's probably a little maturity to kind of learning to appreciate the grind and the burn.
Yes.
Kind of the flash and the pans are fun. But there's a lot of gratitude of sticking with something for a long time and grinding.
Oh, hell yeah. Definitely agree with that one. Hey, but you mentioned that you had a bad knee injury late in your 20s that became the turning point, setting that Ironman goal as part of your recovery. If you're open to sharing, what was that chapter like for you mentally and physically? And what did the road back to health teach you about yourself?
Initially, there's phases. It's like the phases of grief. Real depressing at first. And I think as an athlete, if someone's been at a high level and any injury, mine was pretty significant at the time. But when you're out of what you like to do, it mentally is very depressing. So yeah, I had a big surgery. I was on non-weight bearing for 10 weeks, and then a slow, ever so slow and painstakingly humbling experience to rehab. And it took I gained a lot of insight and intuition during that time inward, and listening to my body. So, I got a lot of reports from the doctors and physical therapists. They kind of put you on a general guideline, and, they said by 6 months you should be running. And by 6 months, I was not ready to run, but they told me I could.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't ready. But so I had to really refocus with, I had got a second physical therapist who was awesome, and we really worked on stuff and just took it slow. And he was really big on listening to your body. Pain means stop. Discomfort's okay. Don't be afraid of things, like swelling and stuff, as long as it's not pain, and really being acutely aware of your body and its response to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that was insightful, but yeah, very depressing at first. And then once you then you start to do some activities, and you get the pep in your step comes back.
Yeah.
Do a little bit more, than the fire comes back. And even though you're not ready to do all the hard stuff yet, you can see that you'll be able to do it down the road. And then that's inspiration. And so it kind of drives you to keep, I can't do a box jump yet, but I'll get there. I know I can.
Yeah.
That's an inspiring mindset to have. Hey, let's talk about that Ironman goal. And most people would just aim to walk again or maybe slowly get back to jogging, but you're like, nah, I'm going to become an Ironman. Where did that decision come from? And what did chasing it unlock for you?
Where did it come from? I think I needed something to look forward. I went through my checklist of goals, and walking, of course. I actually had multiple goals, and
Okay.
I feel like this is a good strategy I use for running for this too. Is when you have a big goal, and I don't know, like I said, I was dipping my toes into the triathlon world. I love the triathlon world, so I still like that. But the Ironman was kind of like the top, so I was like, I'm going to send it for that. And along the way, I set smaller goals. So it was like to walk, and then to run,
Okay. Yeah.
to be able to run for an hour, and get back to deep full squats. And so I had goals that were going to help me build up towards the top goal, smaller goal, like a little step ladder, if you will. So then I could forget about the triathlon and say, my only goal for the next month is to run 3 miles. After that time period, I was like, all right, now I got to learn how to swim again.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny you're talking about having small supporting goals build up and help accomplish that big goal. That's the same thing I tell my daughters all the time. It's just like building a house out of Legos. You got to build a strong foundation, and that is our supporting goals, because we can build the house, and when it's finished, is it going to support the weight that we're going to be putting on us? Just like us as ultra runners, that is going to be a DNF, or we're going to be like, shit, I should have did this right the first time.
Right. Yep. Well, I was just going to say, I wish I could say I learned that experience just one time, but I've had enough injuries where I've rushed back and like, all right, I should have taken 5 instead of just 1 week, and then
True.
it still happens.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hey, so up to this point in your journey, you've battled back from injury, you've earned the Ironman badge not once but twice, and then came the next chapter. You paced a friend at the Run Rabbit Run, and something about that experience flipped a switch. So take us to that point.
Yeah. So my buddy Matt Strain, it was his first 100-mile race. So he invited us all down there, and at that point I was doing well. So he invited me to pace him for the last 30 miles of that race. And
oh, wow.
It was awesome. The pacing lifestyle is where it's at. I'll say that right now. As much as I love these ultras and stuff like that, pacing is the icing on the cake. You get to run a good pace. There's no heavy expectations on you. And then if you're not the last, you just pass them off, and you can open up a beer while they still have 10 hours to run. But it was the Run Rabbit Run. It's a very cool course, well organized, good stoke level, and we had a good group of guys and gals down there, just a good group of friends. And right from the start, the atmosphere at the starting line just draws you in, and that race starts off with a big monster climb, and just to watch all these people just start hiking up the ski hill was inspiring. And we got to see him at a couple other little quick aid stations, and then I picked up with him the next day around 6 a.m, and we were behind what he was expecting to be. He had a real rough night, and by the time he gets to me, he did a really last big climb, and then you spend the last 15 or 20 miles right around 10,000 feet. So it's not a ton of vert at that point per se, but you're up high and you kind of stay up there. He really slowed down, and it was a slog, and it was a slow walk and stop and slow walk and stop. And we got to one of the checkpoints, and real obvious, I think at that point, we knew we weren't going to finish, but it wasn't. I think I did the math. I think he had to do a 22-minute mile to make it to the next stage. So pretty reasonable if at a good walk. And it took us a couple hours to do that last section. And so as we were walking, the course sweeper caught up to us. He was walking with us, and just the nicest guy. And he made the experience. He was it was probably good for my buddy Matt because he was probably sick and tired of me saying, "Good job, keep it up." And
Yes.
there's another guy and give us crap and to talk to. But I texted my buddies too because a storm was coming in. It worked out. Our buddies came and met us pretty much right at the cutoff time for the aid station, and we were still like a mile from it. And so all of us except for my buddy Matt, we took a little shot of whiskey, said, "Good job, man. We'll walk it out." We walked out in the dark.
Yeah.
A couple other friends met us a little bit later because they wanted to walk out with us, and it started raining. Well, except my buddy Matt. He was in the pain cave. We got to the end at this last aid station, and my buddy was pretty delirious at this point. It's dark and raining, and it was cold. It was probably 30 degrees, and
Oh man.
they're like, "Well, we think this is about mile 99, and you got about 3 or 4 more miles to the finish line, and you're well off the cutoff time, so we can't let you go." He's like, "Well, I just got 4 miles to get 100." And we're like, "No, that's that next time, buddy." We threw him in the truck. But that whole experience, the whole day, and a bunch of friends walking out in the dark woods and the rain, and all the support and energy throughout the race and aid stations and the volunteers, it was like a great introduction to the trail running world.
Nice. That stoke definitely sounds high. Hey, up until this point in your personal journey, have you personally experienced the pain cave?
Yeah, I think we all do at some point. I think I've been lucky enough to avoid some of those monster pain caves like my buddy Matt was in, or the people bent over on the side of the trail. But I think you all go through ups and downs, and those downs can feel super heavy in the moment.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hey, during your pacing duties, watching your friend push through the pain cave, what did that teach you about what you were going to be experiencing becoming an ultra runner?
I was terrified.
Hey, did you have the thought of like, come on, man, just push through it?
No, I didn't. I had enough running experience to me, like when I run 20 miles, I'm like, "Oh man, I'm beat up and sore." And then these guys and at that point to me, like I can't even extrapolate what it must feel like. And as much as I would love to say it was probably my first experience too, is why the supporters and pacers and aid station volunteers are so crucial, because I don't know where it begins, but maybe mile 60 and beyond.
Yeah, exactly.
You look strong, you look good, and every runner out there looks like a zombie. Yeah, like everybody out there is just, you can tell they're tired and in the pain cave at some level of sore and running. And I'm like, God bless these people for saying you look good, because everybody else, like, they're just struggling.
Hey, before we switch gears into your ultra running journey, I want to zoom out and hit 2 other big pieces of your world. You said that mountain biking has become your favorite, especially out there in Big Sky country. What is it about MTB that keeps you coming back for more?
Well, for me, mountain biking, I don't do as much as road biking.
Okay.
So, yeah, road biking is more of where I'm at. I do like mountain biking. My experience there isn't as good. I'm not a great technical rider, so that's what gets me. The endurance is there, but when you're not as technical, it's amazing how you just can't keep up with people, and they're efficient at handling a bike. And so I do love mountain biking, but road biking here is awesome. There are, even around Billings, there's some 20, 30, and 50-mile loops, and just around the state, you can just cover. I mean, it's the same concept as ultra running, but you can just go so much further, faster, and with less pain. So, in 2 hours on a bike, you can cover 40 miles, versus 2 hours running. And if you're on a nice stretch of highway outside in rural Montana, it's beautiful. I'll tell you one quick story. I did one, my hardest ride to date is I started in Red Lodge and went up to Cook City.
Oh, wow. What's the distance on that?
I think it's roughly 30 miles one way, so the trip was 60, 65.
Yeah.
But you go up the Beartooth Pass and you gain, I think there and back, it's almost 16,000 feet of elevation gain. And most of it's just, I think from Red Lodge up to the top of the pass, there's 7,000 or 8,000 feet of gain. in the
Yeah.
last 6 miles.
Oh my God.
It's one of America's most beautiful highways. It just goes back and forth straight up to the Beartooth Plateau. And I got up to the top where I wanted to stop, and there were some other riders there, some other bikers at this little stop getting water, and they're like, "Hey, well, we're just heading to Cook City. It's not much further. You can tag along with." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not bad." And we got about halfway there, and I was like, "Man, these guys don't have like packs, or like they only have one water bottle they refilled." I was like, "How are you guys getting back to Red Lodge?" And they go, "Oh, we're
Right.
getting to Cook City." and, and so I went to Cook City with them. I spent like $40 at the gas station on candy and pop and Powerade, and up, turned around and headed back. So
Yeah.
Hey, riding a bike, does it give you something different endurance wise, or is it like adding another layer to the same engine?
there's, I think, both. I think there's another layer. Like I said, you can go long and far on a bike and without quite the physical impact of running. So it's great to get a lot of
Yeah.
that cardiovascular and muscular endurance you can get on a bike without quite the physical impact. So I mean, there's definitely some of the same but slightly different building, and then it's fun. There's some going downhill on a bike. That's a new thrill. That's you can get going 50 to 70 miles an hour down some of these.
Oh, man. 50 to 70 miles an hour downhill. I would see the inevitable coming, and I would start getting like the wheel shakes, like back and forth, and, like gonna crash.
Oh man, yeah, you get the wobbles, and you appreciate life for a couple days after that.
Have you ever had a good wipeout?
Knock on wood, I've had wipeouts, not bad.
Okay.
But it's like they always say, there's two type of cyclists. There's ones who have wrecked and then ones who will wreck. So
Okay, well, I'm going to knock on wood as well, just to make sure I wasn't the one who jinxed you with this question. And hey, the other part that I wanted to touch on was the work that you do off the trails. And you've been knee deep in it, working as a registered nurse in ICU, helping teach nursing students and coaching athletes on the side. Now, that's a lot of high stakes focus packed into one single week. How do you balance that kind of intensity with your own training and racing goals?
yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. The hospital shift work is kind of nice.
Okay.
I will say, it makes consistent training sometimes hard. Sometimes I'll work 4 or 5 days in a row, and I essentially take my work days as days off.
Yeah.
I know people that can run and work out before or after a shift, but it's hard enough, long enough days on my feet and mentally tiring that I've tried getting workouts on days I work at the hospital, and it's almost just more beneficial for me just to take the day off. And
Yeah.
I'm still getting 15 to 20,000 steps in a day, and so it's just as good for me to take 4 or 5 days off from training and then hit it hard when I have days off.
So, I've worked in ICU. Hold on, let me rephrase that. I did clinicals in the ICU, and one time when I was getting my my EMT, I was in Corpus Christi, and that's where I did my ICU clinical. I was sent to the OB unit, and I couldn't get in, and so my proctor, the preceptor, wasn't there, and I just found the nurse, and she was like, "Can I help you?" I was like, "Well, I'm supposed to be here for my clinical. I don't know. Nobody's answering the phone. I don't know what to do." She was like, "Oh, that's okay." She just like used her card and like doop, opened up the door, and she goes, "Just go find the head nurse and explain yourself." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I walk in, explain what the situation. She goes, "Okay, well, we're kind of slow right now, so just go ahead and sit down and study your book, and when I need you, I'll call you." I was like, "Okay." Not even 2 minutes later, she comes running over. She goes, "We need to go right now. We need to go." And I'm like, "Okay." So she's like, the lady is going into labor like right now, and we got to go." I was like, "All right." So we go into the what is the room, the staging room or the preparation room, and so I'm literally just mimicking what I see other people doing. They're putting on scrubs and they go to wash their hands at that big long trough, and they will take a bar of soap, unwrap it, and one side of the bar is soap and the other side is a little scrubber. And they would wash their hands and then throw it in the trash. Grab another one, wash their hands, and throw it in the trash. And so I was just mimicking this. And I got all geared out, the bonnet, the mask, scrubs, the whole 9 yards. And then the lead nurse comes in and she's like, all right, gather up, everybody. She goes, what is your job? What is your job? And everybody's just, really getting into it. And she gives us like motivational 1 minute speech. And I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be so amazing, right? It's just like, and what are you going to do? I was like, well, I wasn't given a task yet. She goes, oh, that's right. You'll catch the baby when it comes out. You're going to give it to the nurse, and then you'll cut the cord. Where do you cut the cord at? And so I gave her the spec. She goes, I got it. And we're like clapping, and so we walk in the door, right? This feeling of this teamwork is just like in the air. And so baby number 1 is coming out, and so I get the baby, I give it to the nurse, and she gives me the forceps. I cut it, and they clean it off. It starts crying. They're like, all right, baby number 1, it's healthy and everything. And everyone's like, yeah. All right, get ready for baby number 2. Baby number 2 comes out. I catch, give it to the nurse, cut. It starts crying. Hey, baby number 2, healthy. Yeah, good job, Dad. And I'm like, I'm not the dad. And there's like this silence. And then there's like this laughter, like, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, no, I'm an EMT student. And they're like, this guy at the head is like, I'm the dad. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so that was my time in ICU there.
Oh, that is too funny. You just got thrown in the fire.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I can add that to the resume now.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's a great story.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep that one there.
Hey, let's jump into the coaching side of things that you do off the course. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I have been using Thomas Endurance Coaching. I hired Taylor. He's the founder over there. When I was doing my first Ironman.
Okay.
And so, I had that big enough of a goal. I was willing to invest in somebody to keep me on track and accountable and to get me there, besides kind of making my own. And it went really well. It just has been great. And he's still my coach to this day. It's almost been a decade, I think. And
nice.
It's been incredible. And so a few years ago, I got my personal training license, and he said, I'd love to have you as part of our coaching team. So, he's got a good coaching. There's some running coaches, some cycling coaches, nutritionists, and mental health coaches over there. It's been a great team to be a part of. They meet at least every week for quick phone calls and office hours, and you can talk about athletes that you're struggling with, or sometimes people just need different coaches. It's finding the right coach is good. So we can pass off clients. Like if I'm not familiar with mountain biking per se, and mountain biking history, racing, and I can say, hey Taylor, can you help me build this person's program, or I can pump it off to him and he can take. And so it's really nice to have that dynamic team to help build on. My athletes struggling with XYZ, and people say, oh, I've had that before, and this is what worked or didn't work.
Okay.
It's been great getting some clients. I do mostly train runners who are trying to stick with a consistent schedule, and that's the big thing: consistent, steady progress for most people. But
right.
It's been really fun to be part of watching people grow through that training. It's been really rewarding.
That's awesome.
And the ICU is such a reactive part of healthcare. People are usually accidents or heart attacks or strokes, and you're trying to fix something that's already been in place. And on my off days, getting to help the proactive side of these things, of people wanting to get out and move their body and prevent all this stuff, is a very change of pace. It was really good for my mentality for a while. I kind of was tired of the hospital thing, and getting people who are motivated to move their body and set big goals, and not always just kind of seeing the bad side of things. So.
Right. And you've kind of alluded to this already, but do those experiences inside of the hospital, like witnessing life struggles, recovery, and hardships, does that shift how you think about your own endurance?
Yeah, I would be lying if I said no. It's a whole different perspective to see people in some of those life and death situations, and families as well. A lot of the times we're dealing more with the emotional side of life and hardship, and that's the mental aspect as well. So I am very grateful and appreciative every day that I get to go do something, because I know there are people that are going to be working for the next week just to be able to stand out of bed. And it's very humbling to realize how quick things can change. And so it's very dark sometimes, like the whole thing, but there is a lot of light to pull from these situations, and gratitude and lessons when you think about them and dive in there. But yeah, these dark moments are times when you can kind of see people's resilience and love, and that fight to get back to a healthy life so they can walk around and hug loved ones. Like, sometimes that's an endurance goal they have, is to get home to the people they love. And that's, seeing people work hard for that is just as inspiring to see somebody training for a 100-mile run.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it gives you a better appreciation for time.
Yeah, there's a very big component of how your time is spent and what it's spent doing.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's one of the big reasons I do what I do now, because of what I've had to endure. And so I 110% agree with that sentiment you're portraying.
Go ahead.
I remember seeing you last year when you volunteered at the Crazy, and you were there with your whole family, and you had decided to come here, but you brought everybody out because your goal was to spend time with them for graduation. Is that?
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be deployed this year. When we were flying up to Montana, that was when the airport software had that mix-up or outage. Our flights ended up in Kalispell, luggage ended up in Great Falls. We had to move days around, time and events got lost. But the only day that we were able to do exactly what she was asking was race day. And so I just bit the bullet to make it happen for her. She'll always remember the sacrifice that I made for her. But if I didn't do it, for me personally, that would have been a DNF on, what my daughter was asking of me. So yeah, definitely thought the sacrifice was worth it.
Yeah, very cool.
Hey, before we move into this next section, throw out your Instagram so we can follow and support you.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is ahoymalloy2. And
ahoy is a way of saying hello, right? Like, ahoy, matey.
Right? Okay, let's make it short.
Yeah, yep. Ahoy, matey. Yep, that's exactly where it comes from. So.
Okay, awesome. Hey, I'm going to throw an introspective question at you. You've been through pain, setbacks, big wins, long nights where nobody else is watching. You've rebuilt your body, coached others through their own battles, and pushed yourself through miles that most people would never even dare to attempt. But underneath all of that, the medals, the finish lines, and the comeback story, what is your why? When nobody else is watching, when the trail gets quiet, and it's just you, your breath, and the next step. Why are you out there still putting one foot in front of the other?
I think I would have to say the experience. I think there is, and maybe the solitude as well. I think in our world, so tied down by my phone and work and alarms at the hospital and keeping up with everything everywhere all at once. We get like disassociated from our mind-body connection. And having the time to be in a place where you're testing both, and both have to, your mind and body have to talk well, and getting to do that, especially in nature, is very, very powerful. So I think when you're tired and breathing hard on the hillside of a mountain is pretty blissful. You get to think a lot about life, and kind of like we talked about earlier, like where you get to pick your time doing things and what matters and what doesn't. And you get to appreciate there's a lot of things that we could be doing that are very meaningful, spent wasted on emails or work meetings that would be nice to be more spent introspectively with ourselves.
Man, based on everything that you shared, the comeback from the injury, setting your sights on Ironman, pacing your friend, working as nurse, coach, mentor, I had a feeling that your why was way deeper than just chasing the miles. It's definitely rooted in transformation, in pushing yourself to find out what you're capable of, physically, mentally, emotionally. And at the same time, it's all about service. You're helping others discover their own strength through movement, struggle, and showing up. So you're not just out there chasing miles, but you're chasing a meaning and leaving something meaningful behind with every single mile. And I definitely appreciate the introspective conversation, because I know our listeners, they get a lot out of that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, it's fun. I like to, especially running, have that gratitude and humbleness of how small we are in the grand scheme of things. We talked about in the ICU how fast things can change, and then you go out in the mountains and how small you feel compared to those mountains. And then it's very humbling, grateful, and then it's fun, because you realize that we're only here for a short time, and you might as well make it, because you're like, I can't take everything too serious, and this is such a cool place to be, whether it's on a bike or walking through the park, having all that stuff align and being able to kind of connect those pieces, and then not taking it too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and speaking of all of this, running, beautiful country, you finished the Crazy Mountain 100 every year since it has began. Now that's not just dedication, but that's a legacy. What is it about that race, those trails, that suffering, that finish line that keeps calling you back year after year?
It is a very challenging race. And it is fun. Like I said, my first one, pacing, was my buddy in Run Rabbit Run, but the Crazy Mountains started a few years after that, and it was almost just like an omen calling me to race in your own backyard. And the Crazy Mountains, if you ever drive around them, I know you have, but for the listeners, there's some power there. There's some energy from those mountains. They're steep and powerful, and there's kind of a mix of beauty but also gloom. There's always storms going through them. They kind of attract me, and like same thing, humble. Like it's not like an attraction like, oh, I'm gonna go run through these woods. It's like, I'm gonna hopefully let this land let me pass.
Yes.
A lot of times we talk about fighting the course and fighting the race, and this is more like I'm here in this country, and I'm just hoping that this lets me pass.
That's very well put.
Megan, the director, is awesome, and I've loved how she's organized everything. So,
oh yeah, I love everything about this race. And just like you were just saying, this mountain range, the Crazies, is stunning yet savage, right?
Yeah.
And this race has that reputation that perfectly matches that description. Walk us through a section, or has any section nearly broken you out here during any one of your Crazy Mountain experiences?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple. I don't think I was quite at the breaking point yet, but I remember year one, I think you and I were climbing up to one of the first passes together that we got to the top of that first together. And I remember thinking, that's like the first of 4 big climbs. And I remember sitting there and going like, I don't know what I got myself into here. As far as almost breaking, I think last year I had a couple. When I got to the half moon, like the halfway station, I was doing pretty well, and I ate and drank so much at once, and then I threw up. I think I just put in the system once, but once I threw up once, I had a real hard time keeping stuff down afterwards. I could definitely tell I was a little low on fuel throughout the night, and some of those climbs, I was hurting, and I threw up again at a couple other aid stations, and that was running down Sunlight Pass. Sunlight Pass is that really sketchy. There's like no trail. There's just like a cliff that you're gonna fall into the abyss. Once you get past that, it's a pretty steep downhill run, and you're tired. And that was probably like, and you think you get to the downhill part, and you think I got this, but I was like, downhill sucks, uphill sucks, running sucks, and I was in a bad place then.
So the year that you were talking about, excuse me, I believe that was the second year. The first year that was when I had the injury and came back, so I was literally at the back of the path. The second year was when you and I went up that pass and everything, and I was feeling pretty strong. I don't think I've ever said this, but because we took pictures up there, and amazing ones at that. You went ahead, and I got to Half Moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I ate, and then so I picked up my pacer. Robert Nelson was pacing me that year, and I was like, I don't have to use the bathroom. I'm literally going to get in and get out. I don't want to, linger at the aid station. So ate, changed, got on our way. I swear to God, literally 2 miles away from the aid station, it hit me. I had to go bathroom. And so we changed up my pack because that was the year I think every year had rain so far, but it was raining, coming down pretty hard. And so I changed up my pack. Well, everything was in the other pack. And so I didn't have my wipes or anything like that, but I finished the race, but I literally had the worst stomach issues every 10, 15. I swear to God, my pacer probably was just like, okay, again. Oh my God. Yeah, it was pretty rough. But
I have one quick story that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It might have been that same year too, but I had a group of buddies there at Half Moon, and they were my pacer, but there's my dad and 5 or 6 of my buddies there, and I came jogging down the trail, and I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And Half Moon camping trail, there's like an outhouse because it's a campground.
Yeah.
I at the time, but there's no toilet paper in there, and I was like the last mile or two. I was like, I think I can make it. I'll just have it get there to an outhouse. And and all my buddies are at the trail, so I run by all 6 of them. They wanted a high five. I blew by them, ran in there, sat down, and then all of a sudden I hear them go like, "Buddy, there's no toilet paper in there." And like, I ran in with my pack and everything, and so I did have my toilet paper. So,
dude.
Hey, check this out. Going back to your question number 2 with the Fast 5, you talked about do you prefer challenge coins, medals, buckles, or the journey's experience? We talked about you like the journey's experience, but getting to walk away with something shiny is it's a cool thing to have with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You finished the Crazy Mountain 100 3 times as of right now, and you're lined up to do a 4th time. Up to this point, do you have a favorite Crazy Mountain buckle?
It's hard to beat the OG one, their first one. It's hard to beat that. But it's so cool the way she does it because all the buckles are different for how many times.
I know.
And so they're all super cool and unique in their own. They have the detail in them. There's the little pieces of jade, and
Yes.
so.
I actually called Megan while I was working on this episode right before I started. And we know that she's been around some serious legendary runners and races. And she had this to say, and it really stuck with me, that the biggest compliment that a race director can get is not a stacked podium or just a sold out event, but it's when these amazing runners and volunteers keep coming back year after year. And that ongoing support literally speaks volumes. And so you are one of them who are at the top of that list because you are, I think, one of the, I think she said 3 people who have been at the race every year since its inaugural year and finished every year. All that being said, are you excited for this coming year?
I am very excited. And it's trying to keep excitement as the word because it's equally as easy to say anxious and nervous and scared.
Yes.
So excitement, yes, I am excited for it, and it's that that apprehensiveness that kind of builds as you think towards that big goal, and so it's definitely an excitement that you look forward to. With you want it to be here, but you also don't want it to be here.
Yes. In that race, my favorite section is the first 20 miles. Just because it allows me to get those race jitters out, and you get to that first, but I think it's the second aid station, but that stretch right there allows me to take in the calm before the storm, because after that you get those paths that you got to climb twice, and so for me that first section has been the most enjoyable part. The middle part is the most beautiful part. The last part is such a it's deceiving. The race, the elevation map is deceiving to that second half of that.
Rolling hills at the end are devastating. Yes. And especially when you look at the profile and you think you got all the big climbs out of you, and you just don't realize that every one of those little hills just sucks at the end.
Yes. And oh man, I'm looking forward to it. And just like you said, you're building mileage back up, and I'm doing the same thing. And so I just finished the Brazos Bend 50 miler. It's over the course of the 50 miles. The elevation gain is literally like 250 feet. Nothing, right? Wow. Yeah, it's super flat. But what we don't take, what I totally didn't take into consideration, I feel like I forgot how to run in a sense. Running in the humidity, running with a full vest again, all these extra little ounces which add up to some extra weight, some poundage. I really like that race took my lunch money. I did run a sub 12, but it wasn't a happy sub 12, we'll put it that way. And I was giving it everything I had at the end. So yeah.
You probably learn a lot from that. Sometimes those are the ones you take the most away from.
Yes. That's why I'm so happy to get back into arduous race right away. Just like, man, I needed to remember how it felt to hurt. And yeah, so if a flat 50 was doing that to me, I can imagine what a mountainous 100 would have done to me in that state. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, is building my mileage back up and everything. And so it helped me redirect my training again.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's amazing the nuance and the details as you start doing those long runs that you have to remember to keep track of. You have to remember to eat on time, and you have to remember to drink on time. And you forget that weighted pack, you kind of shrivel your shoulders up, you have to like sit up, and then your shoulders get sore from the pack, and all the nuances of things that don't happen when you're doing shorter runs. And as you I forgot where the pocket goes. You find your gel in
exactly. Yeah. On your Instagram, you showed one of the last things that you got from the last Crazy Mountain 100, and it was a pair of moccasins. Tell me about those.
Yeah. So that is from White Bear Moccasins. Megan has given that out as a prize.
Yeah.
For the end of her races, and they are, God, I wish I was at my house because I could show them to you. They're
Yeah.
awesome. And Shauna, who makes them out of Bozeman, Montana, was incredible. And how we went through the process. So they go, and I think you can do it, send in your measurements and stuff like that. But if you have the opportunity to go to a shop, it's
Yeah.
this very cool, like, leather working shop, and they measure your feet and make these custom moccasins for you. And there's a bunch of different styles you can pick. I don't know. There's probably a correct term for this, but there's like flair, different beads
Yeah.
and tassels, or like wool and accessories that you can have. And for mine, because I won them through the crazies, and that race means a lot to me, I asked for to have a component of that race in there.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
on the piece, there's like, they designed a little mountain piece, and they put one little piece of jade in there just to represent like the jade that's on the medals.
Yeah. That's so super amazing.
Yeah, and so they're awesome. I've been a little nervous to wear them outside because I kind of got them in the middle of winter yet. So I've been wearing them around my house, but I'm stoked to wear them now that it's not a mess outside.
Yeah,
so.
that's so cool. The fit and the bottom, are they durable?
There's different options. So the fit right now, they're pretty snug on me.
Yeah.
And she said that's normal as the leather breaks in.
Okay.
So that'll them. And then you have different options. They do have the option to have like a Vibram sole, like so they can be more durable. I just went with plain leather on the bottom, like
Okay.
traditional.
Yeah.
And as much as you wear them out, she said, I forget what it is, you can bring them in and pay and just have them resold essentially with some new leather or put in a different deal. So
heck yeah. Hey, and also, I didn't get a chance to do this. Yeah, so Kelly was doing the custom hats. I didn't get a chance to do it, just taking into account that I was supposed to be gone last year. But so now I'm just like, this year, if it's a thing, I'm gonna go ahead and get one. But did you size up or anything over there?
I didn't get a hat last year, but I had intentions to. And then I was the same thing, like, a day later, you're kind of like, at the end of those races, you're not firing on all cylinders always.
Yeah.
The next day I was like, oh shit, I forgot to go get measured for my hat.
Hey, do you out of the 3 times that you finished, what is your favorite finish?
The first one, for sure. It was also my first 100-mile race, for context. Wow. And I was in the hurt locker for the last 20 miles, and
I
had him with me, and it was funny because he took a wrong turn to the pacer station, so I left where I should have picked him up. That's by myself for like an hour and a half, and I just heard, like, you could just tell somebody was running downhill so fast, and I was like, there's no one at this point in the race that can be running that fast. Like, and I turned around and my buddy had caught up to me. So he helped really carry me along. And then we met up with a guy named Tim Stroll.
Okay.
And he is like he's like an OG in the running community. But anyways, on the whole last 20 miles, we were mostly hoofing it, walking it in. He was telling you, him and his friends would go for 80-mile runs for fun. No races, no nothing.
Oh, wow.
No packs. They said they'd carry a couple water bottles and some granola bars. And like, they've been doing that since the 70s, 80s.
That's nice.
And he was just talking with him through experience and stuff. It was, and then we've crossed the finish line together, and it meant a lot. I think he was probably more capable to kind of jog and pull away, but he kind of nice enough to give us motivation to finish it out. So
so my one finish, I was really, really stoked about finishing. And when you get that second wind late in the game, I hit the last aid station, and I switched out socks, I switched out shoes, and I know I only had a little bit to go, but I was so amped up that I wanted to be fresh for that last finish, that last push. Well, like once I saw the finish line, I was still on the road, and I'm just like, oh man, I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah.
And so I start picking up the pace even more and more. And I was catching people. It got to the point to where, you come around that last bush, and that's kind of your turn into, yeah. Well, I was catching somebody, and I didn't want to make it like I'm racing them at the finish. So I stopped behind the bush and I let them finish. And I heard like the yays and all that stuff like that. And then I start running again.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to pass them up at the finish line and be like, I got it.
That's awesome. Yeah, everyone gets their little moment there. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't want to be that guy. So, but hey, I'll definitely see you this year at the Crazy Mountain 100. But I think I'll actually see you twice this year. The other race being the Copper Kings 100 in Butte, America.
Yeah.
Nice. So now I have to ask you, what does it mean to you to toe the line of a race that honors the same ground that your hometown was built on?
I'm definitely super excited about it. It's going to be a cool course. I've run sections of it at a time for a lot of it. A lot of it's on the CDT trail, and it's a very, very cool course. And there is, it'll be cool just to be right there. It's Butte gets a bad vibe for having, it's got this big toxic lake in there, and the natural mountainside has been destroyed by the open pit mining. But the mining's still going on, and growing up there, it's bittersweet, like what's happening to the land, but there's also like it's pretty in its own right. When you look at the hillside and it's all this like perfectly terraced, like open pit, and it's got exposed minerals on there. So like in a sunset, it's orange and red and pretty unique looking. And the pit itself, the Berkeley pit, it looks pretty close to like a tropical water. It's like this teal, it's like this nice teal color.
Yeah.
A tropical body of water. I mean, it's this deadly toxic water, but they look similar. So it's kind of pretty in its own right.
Hey, the big statue over there, does the course go by that?
It does. It goes right by it. And I think they actually have an aid station there. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a big statue. I think it's roughly the same size as the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, wow.
I think the Statue of Liberty is taller just because she has her arms up, holding the torch. But I think they're so it's a very big statue. It's very cool. And they light her up every night, so she overlooks the city. Yeah, it's Our Lady of the Rockies.
Nice. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you at that race and the Crazy Mountain 100 as well. But real quick, you were talking a little bit about how the gentleman that you would run with, he would do 80-mile runs on granola and water, just out of the love of the sport. And so that truly is the soul of the sport that we are in now. It used to be quiet, gritty, and underground kind of world. Raw trails, handwritten race bibs, and finish line that are built out of duct tape and 100% heart. But as the sport grows, we're seeing more sponsors, more cameras, and more people getting into this, whether it be for the right reasons or not. What do you think about where the ultra running community is heading now?
It's bittersweet. I really like the fact that it's growing. I think there's more inclusion. You're starting to see more people. It's cool in Montana. Like there's, if you go, there's the Crazy Mountain has a good contingency, and the Bighorn Mountain Run especially, lots of Native American representation at these races, which you don't always see at, like your city marathon and road runs. So I think in some of those, that's very cool. I think it's great. There's a lot more. I feel like women have really blossomed here. So more access and representation in the sport is awesome. It's a little weird when so much is you get to a starting line and someone's in like the carbon plated shoes and
Yeah.
streamlined, and I'm like, oh man, like I don't know if that's like and good for them yet, but it's just as long as they're there for the right reasons and having fun. But yeah, it's weird to see the influence of, I guess, industry of the money, the
Right.
brand and stuff like that. So
You mentioned the native, well, the inclusion, not just of Native people, but the BIPOC community as a whole. That is one of the things that I started, and I believe it was the first year that Crazy started too. Was I had this initiative where we called it "Running Knows No Color," and that was a heavy push into the inclusion community. And I believe you were the one of the hat that year. There you go. And I
yeah.
want to, and I got the other one right here. So I
Yeah.
want to say these are. I don't know anybody else who has them left.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think these are the last two.
Man, it is literally one of my favorite hats. I don't know if you know this, but I pretty much always have a hat on, and I
Yeah.
love these like snapback hats, and I have, most of them I toss in the corners and whatever what I pick when I want, but I have like 4 or 5 that are kind of my nice hats, and then this is one of my nice hats when I'm feeling like fresh and want to feel good and look good. I wear
Yeah.
this. This is one of them.
Nice. Yeah, and I think every year since that first year that you got it, every time I saw you at the Crazies, you've had that hat on.
Yeah. Like I said, when I want to feel good and look good, and it kind
Yeah.
of brings me back, it recenters me to like the joys of being at that race. So
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate you supporting that initiative, and yeah, I think actually probably gonna re-pick that initiative back up this year. Just so many things have to fall to the wayside in my preparation to be gone this year. And now that we're here, I think that is one of the big things that we're really going to push back into. So, yeah,
very-
definitely look for a new hat there.
yeah, very cool.
But hey, yeah, also, your shirt says powwow.
Oh yeah, I think it's 1876 is what they're called, but
Oh, the band.
yeah, it's a band.
Yeah.
And it's fast, like indigenous. It's like punk rock, like hard punk rock, mosh pity, but with some Native American.
Yeah, that they have one of my favorite power songs, and it's the I don't know if it's their flagship song or whatnot, but the song is called Skoden. That is like my jam.
They're really good. I love punk rock music and that fast tempo, and then it's just so cool the way they've been able to like throw just a Native American vibe to it. It's awesome.
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
Heck yeah.
And so we're gonna have to throw that Skoden power song on the Run True Diaries Spotify guest playlist if it's not already on there. I don't think it is, but yeah, we're gonna get that on there. Now, here's a few warm-up questions before we move into 5 to stay alive. If you could design your own ultra event, what would it be called? Or what is one totally ridiculous or signature element that you'd throw onto that course?
Give me a second to think for a second, but I did have this idea when I was in the triathlon world.
Okay.
I wanted a Copper King triathlon, Ironman. And
Okay.
And the ridiculous thing is I wanted the swim to be in the Berkeley pit. And only be like 20 feet or something so you don't get any arsenic poisoning. But you swim through the Berkeley pit, and then you can bike around Butte and Anaconda and do some running. But I figured if you could swim, bike, run, and there was 3 Copper Kings, I thought you could probably put together some cool connections in there.
So you went full Maverick on this one, and you built something like the Mountain Man, a true Montana triathlon. Mountain biking, ultra running, and open lake swimming. Definitely a Ironman, Butte America edition, right?
Yeah, yep. Permission to swim in the pit, and I think we're good to go.
Do you have any trail traditions or superstitions that you secretly swear by?
Yeah, I have. I touch things. I like to make a very like if you're out in the woods and stuff, making it as like sensory adaptive as you can. So sometimes when I'm at aid stations and stuff, I'll just touch a tree or a rock.
Okay.
And that's kind of my like I've been here, my connection to that thing.
Oh, okay.
And even in runs in town, like when I turn around, I'll touch a mailbox or something, and I'm very.
Yeah.
I've been here. This is my connection, and then I can run back. I don't think we ever told anybody that before. But yeah, so it's kind of like we see everything, we hear things, we breathe it. You can smell the nature and stuff. And
Yeah.
shoes, I got sensitive feet, so kind of adding that touch into feeling some tree bark or a rock or something is fun. Yeah, and then I always the last couple of years, whenever there's birds around,
Yeah.
I always feel like my grandparents talk to me through birds.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so my grandma tends to be more like songbirds and small birds in the trees, and I feel like my grandpa's always kind of like the hawks or the eagles. And
Yeah.
So I have a weird one. When I deployed in 2004, the military issued us 3 Under Armour shorts and tops. Now, the shorts I started using for training and, of course, under my uniform. But even till this day, people who have crewed me, paced me, know me. They try to buy me some new ones. I try to buy new ones. Nothing just feels right. Even though they're worn out, every training run, every race that I run, these are the only 3 running shorts that I wear. Trust me, the elastic is gone. The fit, it just, in anything I buy, anything that is gifted to me, they just don't do justice to what I have right now. And so I just kind of live by the motto, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These are definitely broke, but I can't fix it.
surprised there's any left at all in them.
Oh, man. All right, Dylan. That's all the questions that I have for this portion of the episode. Is there anything that you want to go back, revisit, or anything that has been on your heart that you want to say?
No, I think you touched on part of this with the crazy mountain and the camaraderie, but I've been very excited to become part of this community and be a part of it and meet people like yourself and Megan and some of my buddies here in Billings that are in the trail community. It's a good group of people and very supportive and simultaneously very crazy. So it's a good group of people to know.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, man, we're the lucky ones here. Having people like you in this sport and our community is what makes it better, stronger, and more inspiring. Your energy adds something special that we're all grateful to have and witness. So let's keep that energy going with the 5 to stay alive. And these are questions I ask every guest about themselves and what keeps them motivated. Montana Maverick, are you ready for the 5 to stay alive?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. Do you run with or without music? And if so, what is one power song in your running playlist that motivates you?
I don't listen to any music when I'm running. I have a hard time. I've tried.
Yeah.
I make all these great lists of all my favorite songs, and it never fails that I'm like, I don't know how this is one of my favorite songs, but it's not doing it for me right now. And so I've given up on trying to find some music. So I just go. I don't even like to bring my phone. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
grab my backpack and whatever I need and head out the door.
Okay. So now I'll give you the option to add a song to the playlist if you'd like to.
Yeah, I guess yeah. I'll add a song, mostly because I love music, and so when I listen to it, it's more of my prep as I'm getting ready. And
Okay.
I listen to a ton of music as I get prepped or as I'm driving to the trailhead. But I will add, it's a song by the band called Beartooth, and the song is Riptide.
Riptide by Beartooth. Keep in mind that this song will be added to the Spotify guest playlist for listeners to download and enjoy. And this song is a representation of you. Question number 2. What are some things in your life that have positively changed since you started running?
I think I have developed some more patience and appreciation for the process of things. Especially now with everything that happens in the click of a button quickly, and then knowing that some things take time. Not everything can happen quick. And so I think patience for the process and then gratitude once it pays out.
Love it. Question number 3. In your opinion, what is one thing that an athlete should avoid in their journey to becoming a better runner?
I'll tie this back to the other thing is just not rushing the process. It's a good way to get injured, and trying to be too fast or build miles too soon or only focus on running without nutrition and hydration, and you get excited and try to rush things. And for me, part of the best part about ultra running is it's a puzzle, and every race is different and every run is different. And sometimes you have your nutrition and hydration nailed, but you're cramping. And then sometimes I went on a run yesterday and I forgot my gels. I had my little Huckleberry Montana Hammer thing, and I left it on the counter. So I was about 40 minutes into my run, and I was like, well, now I'm 3 gels short for my run. So, but then it's troubleshooting that. It's like, okay, so putting the pieces together.
One of the things that I'm starting to incorporate is coconut water. Read some benefits that would definitely help. So I'm going to go ahead and give my shot with coconut water.
I love coconut water. That got me in trouble last year when I started throwing up because I got there and I had like a big 20-ounce can and I just slammed the whole thing. It was all gas, no brakes. I slammed that thing. I think that's what filled me up a little too much too fast.
Hey, question number 4. Finished this statement. When it comes to long distance running, Dylan cannot leave the house without his
sunscreen. I'm a pasty white Irish boy, and that's if I go outside for more than 20 minutes, I need to make sure I'm UV protected.
And question number 5. Do you have a running, workout, or life mantra?
I've had several. They kind of change depending on the season and the reason for everything. So I like to kind of let them build themselves and kind of speak to me. So I don't have any at the moment. Last year for my running season for the crazy, I had you are fast, strong, supported, and calm. And I would repeat that to myself when things got tough, so I could remember that I'm fast, I'm strong and healthy. I have people supporting me near and afar, my pacers and family, and then calm. And so that reminds me when you're huffing and puffing and working that it's okay and you can settle into that.
That was the 5 to Stay Alive. Thank you for those answers, and I appreciate you rolling with it, Dylan. That's a wrap on all the questions on my end. But before we cross the finish line, are there any last words that you want to leave on the trail for someone who's still climbing their own mountain?
I would say have fun. If it gets to a point where it's not fun anymore, to settle down or find it should be enjoyable. And so make sure you're having fun doing it and to be consistent. So being consistent and prioritizing of what's important can really kind of help open the door to a lot of things. So making sure you do the important things keeps other opportunities open for you. But as long as you're having fun doing it, that's the reason we should be out there.
Hey, and real quick, before we call it done and dusted, give a shout out to someone who's had your back, inspired your journey, or just deserves some Maverick level love before we hit the stop button.
Parents, my mom and dad, my sister, and my niece and nephew, they've always had my back. In the ultra world, I got a great group of buddies. My buddy Matt Strain, I shouted out at him. He's got me into the world. My buddy Josh Hernandez, Kyle Clark, and Mike Sheehan. And a couple of my other buddies here, Helen and Hernandez, another Hernandez. They're all crazy enough to come support these ideas. So kudos to them for being there.
Awesome. Love it. Hey, Dylan, thank you for joining me here on the show today. Your story isn't just about the miles, it's also about the mindset. You've shown us that resilience isn't loud, it's steady. It's built in long climbs, quiet grit, and the choice to keep showing up year after year, no matter what the mountain throws at you. As a 3-time Crazy Mountain 100 finisher, you have carved your legacy into the wildest trails that Montana has to offer. As a coach, you're helping others discover their own fire, guiding them with the same humility and heart that got you through the most brutal miles. You remind us that running isn't about speed and stats. It's about the stories that we write along the way. So whether you're leading from the front or quietly grinding on a back half, know that your presence out there makes the community stronger, more grounded, and more inspired. So on behalf of every runner who's ever needed a reminder to keep climbing, thank you. It was an honor to have you on the show. Keep coaching and conquering, keep moving and improving, and I'll see you out there on the trails, my friend.
Thanks, Chico. This has been great.
Hey, we're approaching the finish line, but before we cross, here's some news and views. And there you have it, finally, Dylan Malloy. A runner who doesn't just chase miles, but honors every single step with humility and true grit. In a sport where ego can cloud the view, Dylan keeps it clear. Stay grounded, respect the trail, and remember, the mountain doesn't care who you are, it'll humble you either way, and remind you who's really running who. When I asked how his profession intersects with his passion for running, Dylan didn't just share an answer, he offered a philosophy. One built on work ethic, awareness, and the kind of wisdom you only earn mile after mile. So run with this one and let it sink in. Here's Maverick.
In our world, so tied down by my phone and work and alarms at the hospital and keeping up with everything everywhere all at once, we get like disassociated from our mind-body connection. Having the time to be in a place where you're testing both, getting to do that, especially in nature, is very, very powerful. So I think when you're tired and breathing hard on the hillside of a mountain is pretty blissful to me. You know, I am very grateful and appreciative every day that I get to go do something, because I know there are people that are going to be working for the next week just to be able to stand out of bed. It's very humbling to realize how quick things can change. It's very dark sometimes, you know, like the whole thing, but there is a lot of light to pull from these situations, and gratitude and lessons. These dark moments are times when you can kind of see people's resilience and love and you know, that fight to get back to a healthy life so they can walk around and hug loved ones. Like sometimes that's an endurance goal they have, is to get home to the people they love, and that's seeing people work hard for that is just as inspiring to see somebody training for a 100-mile run.
In this conversation, we've learned that Dylan's why isn't just about conquering distance. It's about honoring the journey, respecting the mountain, and showing up with a purpose in every step. Whether it's his work ethic, his calm strength, or the way that he carries himself through the highs and the lows, Dylan reminds us that running is more than just a sport. It's a discipline, a teacher, and a mirror. This conversation also reminds us to slow down and reflect, to strengthen our sense of time, not just in pace or distance, but in how we show up for ourselves, for others, and for the purpose behind every mile. He may not seek the spotlight, but make no mistake, his example shines. Dylan's story teaches us that humility and perseverance don't just build better runners, it builds better people. And so Dylan, you've inspired us more than you know. Keep your stride steady, your mindset sharp, and your respect for that mountain unshaken. We're all better for hearing your story. And we salute you with the grittiest thank you ever. And I'll see you out there on the trails this year, my friend, twice. Next, Dylan, aka the Montana Maverick, just added Riptide by Beartooth to the Run Shoe Diary Spotify guest playlist. And I'm going to be adding two to keep the vibe strong. One is going to be Whistles at Night by 1876 and Scoden by the Res Tones, just as I promised. And that brings the Run Shoe Diary Spotify guest playlist to 39 songs, handpicked by our guests, fueled by the miles, memories, and the meaning. Download, lace up, run with a purpose. Ahoy, young warrior! Hey, we're on the final stretch, so let's take it home strong. And what better way to do so by letting you know that this episode is brought to you by Silo Performance. Because ultra running just isn't about the miles. It's about preparation, resilience, and having the right gear to go the distance. Silo was built for endurance athletes who push their limits, offering race-ready solutions to keep them moving from start to finish. As part of the Run True Diaries community, you get 10% off your order with the code RSD10 at gowithsilo.com. Get the gear that goes the distance because every mile matters. And with that, we have crossed the finish lines. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or guest recommendations, contact me at runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Again, that is runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Keyword search Run Shoe Diaries. Thank you for listening to the Run True Diaries podcast, episode 25 with Dylan Malloy. Until next time, remember that with each step comes the decision to take another. So keep putting one foot in front of the other because it's amazing what you can do on your own 2 feet. And I'm out. But seriously, if you're still listening, I got an extra little tidbit for you. That heartfelt thank you on the outro there. That took me about a day to get through. Really shaky voice. Couldn't make it fully through without being on the verge of tears. From the bottom of my heart, my friend, thank you for this conversation and your support from the very beginning. This conversation meant a lot. Thank you.